Good morning, welcome to my channel, Go Sew Beautiful. My name's Becky, and today I have a pattern review. If that sounds interesting, stay tuned. Now, I haven't done any sewing this week, but I did want to share a review of the dress I made for Mother's Day, and that is McCall's M7974. I'll show a picture of what I made, and I did combine several different fabrics. I had an inspiration picture, and this was the closest I could come to it. So, McCall's M7974 comes in sizes 6 to 22, which is a bust of 30.5, waist 23 inches, hip 32.5, up to a bust of 44 inches, a waist of 37 inches, and hips 46 inches. I think the bust and the waist measurements are the most important measurements for this dress, because the skirt is gathered. And it's got like 5 panels to the skirt. It does come in 2 size bands. You have one size band from 6 to 14, and then the next one is from 14 to 22. Now, I like that because if you are in between a 14 and a 16, you don't have to buy both sizes. Do you want to tell me something? Okay. The pattern does have several different options. You can make it sleeveless with a collar. You can make it short sleeved, long sleeved, or 3/4 sleeved with kind of a bell sleeve at the bottom. So here is the options. You have short sleeved, which is what I made, and then long sleeved, and then sleeveless with a collar, and then this one with the bell sleeves. It's described as buttoned front dress with sleeve and length variations, fitted bodice, front midriff, back yoke, and a gathered skirt with side seam pockets. Now, this is a pretty, does take quite a bit of fabric. Most of them take 3 yards or more, unless you have 60-inch fabric. But because I used 3 different fabrics, that I had to buy, well, never mind. Okay, now it is also rated as easy, as you can see, and there are the line drawings. I wouldn't necessarily call this easy. There are several techniques in here that are kind of tricky, and I'm going to share those with you. The first thing is there's lots of gathering. So if you don't have much experience with gathers, you will get it with this one. There's gathering at the shoulder seams, gathering under the bust, gathering at the back yoke, and then of course the skirt is gathered. The other thing is there are facings on the neck. I used the yoke back here is lined, and I used the burrito method on that. And then also the midriff is lined. See if I can get this unbuttoned. So the midriff is lined on each side. The neckline is also fairly low, and I thought I had cut this out last year, and I thought I had tried to raise the neckline, but that's kind of tricky because you can't just pull up the neckline at the shoulder seams. You really need to raise it, the pattern piece here, and cut the facing the same way. If you just pull up the shoulder seams, you're going to pull up this this line at the bust, and then your gathers won't be in the right place. So that was one thing I noticed when I made it. It was going to be very low, but apparently I did not raise the neckline enough. I just put a camisole under it, and that took care of that. The other tricky thing was this sleeve detail on the sides of the short sleeves. It's got this pretty little tie, but it's got a loop, a keyhole opening here. And in the instructions, let's see, they tell you to cut the opening on the sleeve, and then they tell you to use a piece of bias tape binding to sew onto the right side, and then you turn it over to the back side. Well, I really didn't think that was going to work, and I'll show you a picture of what mine looked like when I first tried it. As you can see, the binding just did not turn that corner very well. So what I did was I made a little pattern piece in the shape of the keyhole with a 1-inch extension, and basically made it like a facing. And I finished the edge so that it wouldn't ravel, and then I sewed right sides together and then turned it over and stitched it down. And I think I have a close-up of that, but here is what it looks like. And that worked a whole lot better for me. It was easier to do, and I was much less frustrated. So here is, oh, and I also interfaced that. And then I serged the edge, as you can see. That's not very, there. Serged the edge and top stitched it down like that. And then it was much easier. The other thing I thought was a little bit different, there are gathers at the top of the sleeve, as you can see, but it's not super full. And then there's also gathers on the bottom of the sleeve, but the gathers are mostly under the arm. And I guess, I don't know if I didn't make my marks correctly or what, but most of the gathers are actually towards the underarm, which is okay. Sometimes I think I don't like super puffy sleeves. Okay, what else? The buttons. Okay, there are a total of 13 buttons on this, buttons and buttonholes. Making buttonholes is no problem. I have an automatic buttonholer on my machine, which does beautiful buttons. But sewing 13 buttons on takes quite a bit of time. But I did it, and it's good practice for hand stitching. Because the neckline is so low and it kind of gaped whenever I moved, I did sew a snap up here at the top, if you can see that. And that helped kind of keep the neckline from falling open and exposing more of my chest than I wanted to. So overall, the dress was not that hard to sew. It was, it did have a lot of steps. There are a total of about 11 or 12 pieces for this dress. In total, there are 16 pattern pieces. So, and then there's also a lot of, you have to interface the facing in the front and interface the midriff. And I think that's all. I really did like the result I got in spite of all the steps. I didn't think I was ever going to get it finished, but I did really love the way it turned out. If you look on Instagram and put in McCall's 7974 or M7974, you will see lots of other posts for people who have made this dress. It really there's just, it's just such a pretty dress, and you can get lots of ideas from there. Okay, if you have any questions about this, please let me know in the comments. I did get a request for a sew along for this dress. I'm not sure I'm going to do that because I don't know that I'm ready, when I'll be ready to make it again. It has a lot of steps. And so not only just sewing, but cutting out takes quite a bit of time. And of course, if you use plaids or checks like I did, you have to match those up. And by the way, the fabric I used is from Joann Fabrics. It's from their Platitudes collection from last year. They do still have a Platitudes collection. I'm not sure if all of the colors that I used are in that collection. It is I believe it's 60% cotton, 40% viscose. It does iron fairly well, but you do need to be careful that you don't, it curled a little bit when I ironed it with too hot of an iron. That's probably because of the viscose. I don't know. Anyway, it's really soft, lightweight, flowy. It's a nice fabric. I hope this review was useful to you. As I said, if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. So that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell, and you can see when I upload new videos. Go sew beautiful. Bye-bye.